Merry Vlogmas, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Happy English paper piecing. As you can see, I have taken out all of the basting thread from my hexagons, and I'm going to be careful because, of course, this edge has nothing sewn to it. So I'm going to get my needle threaded ready to go before I take those little papers out and explain to you what the heck it is that I'm going to be doing. So first of all, if my sister-in-law Kathy is watching, I'm going to ask that you turn off the video now and not watch, so that you have a little surprise at Christmas time. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. You ready? I've taken my inspiration from a gift that Kathy gave me a few years ago. We both started English paper piecing at the same time. It was something that we learned how to do together. And that Christmas, she gifted me with this lovely felt, it's a little bag. See this? She made it herself. She sewed the Velcro in here, and it's just a very simple, it's a piece of sparkly felt, and which is actually quite fun because she didn't have to serge anything. She didn't have to finish the edges because, well, of the type of felt that it was. She simply sewed the sides up and made a little pouch with some Velcro on it, and then she appliqued a hexagon flower on the front. And then she tucked in a small, she made this the perfect size for a plastic, one of those plastic rectangular cases that you can put threads or scissors or little supplies in. And she made me a little EPP on the go kit for Christmas that year. And I loved it because, you know, EPP is something that you can do, you know, when you have a couple of minutes here and there. You know, it only takes a few minutes to baste a hexagon or sew a side seam together. And, you know, it's surprising how quickly over time something can get done. So she made this kit for me a few years ago at Christmas time. So I took her idea of appliquing the flower onto something else, onto a bag, and I came up with what I wanted to do for her this year for Christmas. This has been our first year working together as business partners for our bag business, Evertote. And it's been a really, really fun year. We have made so many new friends. It's been wonderful working together. You know, she's my best friend as well as my business partner. And so I wanted to just make her a very simple memento of our first year and how we ended at Christmas time with these two fabrics that were our holiday, sort of our very first holiday collection being in business together. So this is the fabric that we used for the 2017 holiday winter set. And then this was the fabric that we used for our Fiber Friends winter kit. And so I'm going to make another hexagon flower with this fabric with the navy blue as the center, and then I'll do the deer fabric as the outsides. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to applique each flower, one on each side of this bag. Now the reason I haven't done this yet is because I'm not sure that I'm going to use this bag. I think I will because I like to use what I have. I know it's not perfect because it's a cream color and the hexagon is white, but this is just a very simple memento, and what I would like to use it for is actually to put her other Christmas present inside. And so it's mostly just, you know, for her to have a little memory from holiday 2017 and the special things that we did together this year. So this is just a simple drawstring bag that I had already at home. I like to use what I have. And then what I'm going to applique this flower to this side. I'm going to make the other hexagon flower, and I'm going to applique it onto the other side. So if you do not have one of these bags at home, it's just a very simple, you know, nothing is very fancy. It's just sort of, you know, slapped together. That's all, really, that's my project. Appliquing something on is very simple. You simply take your needle. I would probably put a knot in the end, and I would hide the knot on the back, on the inside of the hexagon, and I would bring my needle out at the top of the side here, and then you simply work your way along, all the way along the outside. You know, I don't know, maybe 8 stitches on each length, 8 to 10 stitches. That's really up to you, depending on how secure you want that. So I don't think I really need to show you how to do that. The only thing that maybe you might have a question about is, of course, I still have the papers inside the outside of my flower. So my plan was to remove those before I appliqued the hexagon onto the bag. So what I did was I very quickly gave it a quick press with the iron, even though the papers were still in there. It's not nearly long enough to, you know, worry about causing a fire or anything. So that those fold memories will be in the fabric. So you can see I'm going to take those papers out, and then I'm going to tuck the fabric folds back into place and giving it a press with the iron before removing your papers is really going to help have that memory in the fabric, so that you keep the shape of the outside of your hexagon flower. So that looks pretty good. Now what you can do is, before you start to stitch it down, you might want to give it another quick press on top of where it's going to live now, before you stitch it down. Now that we've been fiddling with it, if you want to make it flat one more time. Also, before you start sewing, pin it in place so that it doesn't move too much on you while you're sewing it. So I would decide where I wanted it. I had thought about maybe moving it off to the side and having each flower sort of more asymmetrical on the design, rather than, you know, smack in the middle of the bag. And so I would play with the placement of that a little bit. I would use 2 or 3 pins, pin it in place. After, I would iron it one more time to get those sides nice and flat, and then I would start sewing just tiny little stitches, little nibbles of fabric from the side of the hexagon, and a little nibble from the bag, all the way around until it was attached. And that's it. That's it. You could stitch a little heart in the middle of your hexagon, just a little freehand heart. You could stitch your initials. You could stitch their initials. You could do, the options are limitless, really. This is, you know, this is just a time to use your creativity and make whatever your imagination comes up with. Really, there's very, the sky is the limit. So there have been lots of people trying out EPP for the very first time, which has been amazing and so much fun to watch. There have been 2 Instagram friends that I know of in the last couple of weeks who have just kind of gone, I have been loving their Instagram feeds. The first one I've mentioned before, actually I've mentioned both of them before, the Creative Curator, and I will edit in how to spell the information right here on the screen. The Creative Curator and also Sharon Goforth have both been working on some English paper piecing fussy cutting designs, which is where, you know, you would have a very specific part of the fabric centered on each of the hexagons so that it creates a lovely little design all the way around the outside of the flower. And then Creative Curator has been turning these into Christmas tree ornaments, where she has backed the back of the hexagon flower, I believe with a piece of stiff felt, put a little bit of stuffing on the inside of the flower so that it's three-dimensional, and then attached just a sweet little fabric tie to the top. Now, I believe the hexagon size that she was using were smaller, and you can make these whatever size you want. I think hers were 1/2 inch or 1 inch, so they were quite small, and so it would make a really, really sweet little ornament. The last one that I saw that she posted, she actually, this was really quite clever. She left out the center hexagon. So she sewed all of these around together, left out the center hexagon, finished it into that ornament with the felt backing and the stuffing on the inside, but left this as a hole in the middle. And then she hung a little bell from the top here so that when it's hanging on the tree, there's a sweet little bell sitting right on the inside of these hexagon flowers. And then she put a sweet little ribbon tie on the top. I have seen other people back these with fabric or, you know, a slight quilted square, and then use them as a candle, you know, a candle mat, or rug mugs, or table runners. You know, use 4 or 5 of these together. You know, you can use, you can do something more modern and have all of the hexagons together with the different colors. You can do something a little more traditional where you use a single solid color on the outside of each hexagon flower and then put 4 or 5 of them together, each ringed with its own border, and then, you know, add some fabric to the sides and a binding and turn it into a table runner. The sky is the limit. This was just something simple that I thought of, that I thought pretty much everyone could probably do. If they've never used a sewing machine, it doesn't require a machine. It really requires very little other than a little teeny bit of fabric, some paper cutouts, and a needle and thread. And really, if you have clothing, baby clothing that's meaningful to you, or a loved one has passed away, I know those t-shirt pillows, and you know, sometimes people have been making memory pillows out of shirts, pieces of clothing that their loved ones, you know, they remember them wearing all the time, and taking pieces of that and turning them into pillows. You know, how lovely would that be? Just, you know, a few hexagons of a favorite treasured, you know, piece of material from a shirt that you remember them wearing all the time, just turned into a sweet little design, just a small little memento. Again, the sky is the limit. It's fun. It's fun. And I'm excited to give this to Kathy. So hopefully I can finish it in time for Christmas. This might be a January gift. We'll just have to see. So that's it for me for English paper piecing. Oh wait, there was one other question just off the top of my memory before I forget. I had one question from someone who wanted to know very specifically about when you are sewing the side seams together. Now I have taken the paper out, so bear with me here. When you are sewing the side seams together, she wanted to know how you didn't catch the paper in your stitches. And that's a great question, because if you've never done this before, it would seem like a certainty that you are catching the paper as you go. Now, for sure, once in a while, you are going to nick the paper. That's just going to happen. Generally, it doesn't. And as you can see from my templates, you can see a little bit of, you know, it's not quite a pristine edge anymore. So I probably nicked the very, very top edge of the paper, but I'm not sewing through it. And that is because I used the word nibble before when I was talking about taking your small little stitches around the outside of the flower. That's an excellent word. You are simply taking a little nibble of fabric on each side, on each hexagon. So you take a little nibble from the right, a little nibble from the left, and that's it. And that's all it takes. It really doesn't take a lot. And then you just continue all the way down the seam. Give it a try. It's pretty enjoyable, if I do say so myself. So that really is it now for EPP. I really hope you've enjoyed this series. I have truly enjoyed doing it. It's been a lot of fun doing this with you, and the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. So thank you so much for joining with me and doing this English paper piecing. So hopefully now you have the confidence to go forth and make some little hexagons yourself. The only other order of business that I have today, and it's a fun one, I wanted to announce the winners of the 2 patterns that I'm giving away. Just to refresh your memory, the first pattern that I'm giving away is this very handsome Mirabilia Santa. And this is a brand new pattern from my stash, never stitched. He's very handsome, but I just knew that I was never going to stitch him. So I am passing him on to Molly Ellett. And Molly, I have left you a comment on your comment on my video, and if you want to give me a quick message to caroline@evertote.com with your information, I will get this in the mail for you. And yay for Molly. So that was the first one. The second one that I was giving away was the Prairie Schooler Christmas Eve. Remember, I couldn't remember the name to this pattern yesterday. How ridiculous is that? Doesn't get much easier than Christmas Eve, folks. This is one from my stash. This is one, obviously, you know I've stitched, so I'm passing the stash to Tracy Falconberry. And now, Tracy, I have also left you a message on your comment on the video. Please send me an email, caroline@evertote.com. Send me your address and your mailing information, and I will get this in the mail to you as well. So thank you guys. Thank you so much for all of your wonderful comments. There may be just one more giveaway coming up, but I'm not going to tell you when it is. You'll just have to wait and see. Thanks, guys. I will see you tomorrow for my interview with Miss Patty, and I think you're going to like it. I'll see you tomorrow, guys. Happy stitching.